Give me some lights. Let everybody see my face.
No. Go ahead.
There we go. Oh, just a little less light. Now I can. Hey, how about let's give it up for those contestants again. That was a hard situation to be in. We were really kind of setting them up to fail. What?
What were you thinking with that second question?
Well, listen, there was a good chance that Elise and I were going to have to play that round, and I was really worried because of that question. I would have changed it if I would have to play. I was going to answer that question, but no, it's okay. Hey, so when I was in high school, there were 3 guarantees. 3 guarantees when I went to high school. Guarantee number 1 was this. When the bell rang Friday afternoon and you went home, when the bell rang Friday afternoon and you went home, you didn't have to see anybody or hear from anybody again until Monday. It was amazing. It was beautiful. Like all those people that just got on your nerves all week, you didn't have to see them until Monday. Here's another guarantee about high school. When the last day of school hit around May, you didn't see anybody for 3 months. It was beautiful. Like 3 months, you didn't see anybody. And then hopefully, over the course of 3 months, the people that were the worst got their lives together and they weren't so bad when they came back to school the next year. And here was the 3rd guarantee in high school. When you walked across that podium and you grabbed that diploma, you didn't see anybody ever again. That's actually what it was like. It was the night of graduation and you always had this big party. Everybody went to it because they knew this is it. We're never going to see each other again. And you would say goodbye to people, and like that was it. And that's what was normal about life until 2004. 2004, this guy named Mark Zuckerberg created this small thing called Facebook. And Facebook changed everything. It changed everything. Facebook became this way to connect with people. And so I don't know exactly when I started getting on Facebook. I think it was probably around 2008, 2009. I jumped on Facebook, and it was weird because all these people I didn't think I would ever see again, I started seeing again. And so people started sharing their lives, and they started making these connections. And then Facebook opened the door to what would become this social media craze where now you can't escape each other. It's awful. It is absolutely awful. You cannot escape each other. So when the bell rings on Friday, guess what? You got to deal with people all weekend. And then when school's over in May, guess what? You got to see what everybody's been doing over the summer, all the annoying and crazy things that's happening, and then like you don't get a break and then forget about it. When you graduate high school, you're still connected. So it's not totally bad. Like it's okay to still be connected. But what happened with this social media craze was there was this psychological term that was created. It actually happened the same year that Facebook came out. A guy named Patrick McGinnis coined this phrase called FOMO. You know what FOMO is?
Yeah. Fear of
It is the fear of missing out. It is the fear of not being included. Anybody ever experienced a little bit of FOMO in their life, right? Okay? No one's raised their hand. They're so scared, right? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's a safe place. It's a safe place. Like FOMO is a real thing. Fear of missing out. I don't want to be left out. I don't know if you've ever been left out of something before, but it's not a good feeling. It is not a good feeling when you get left out of what other people are doing. As a matter of fact, the sting of that rejection will cause us to do some crazy things. Any of you do anything crazy because you were left out of something before? Like just stupid, crazy, to the point where afterwards you said, why did I do that thing? Because you thought you wanted to be a part of what everybody else was doing. That's what FOMO does. FOMO gets you to do some really crazy, stupid things. And so when I was 8, before FOMO was even a thing, my grandma, she would have this big yard sale at her house every summer, and she lived on 7th Street. It was a busy street, and it was just packed out, and it was just nuts. And everybody in my house saved up all their stuff all year to sell at this yard sale. So by the time I'm 8, I have now collected a little bit of junk, all right? Like I've lived long enough to have a lot of stuff that I just need to get rid of. And so that summer, I brought all my old toys to sell at this yard sale. And I have a cousin who's about 3 years older than me, and him and I like the same stuff. So he had the same amount of stuff I had. He just had about 3 years on me. And so he had a little bit more cooler stuff. And so I remember we were selling stuff at the yard sale, and we were kind of competitive, and every time my cousin would sell something, he kind of gave me like that nasty look, like I'm better than you, I'm making more money than you kind of thing. And I was so frustrated that him and I both had the same G.I. Joe helicopter. It was this big helicopter. It was like crazy cool. And this kid walks in and he's looking at my cousin's helicopter and my helicopter, and we're both selling it for the same price, and he's like kind of eyeballing which one he wants. And I want so bad to be a part of this thing called making money that at that moment I made a decision. I will do whatever it takes to sell this stupid helicopter. Even if I gotta freaking pay this kid to take it, I'm selling this helicopter. Like, I'm not gonna let this happen. So we get in this bidding war, me and my cousin, like where we start underselling the thing. This helicopter, probably when my parents bought it, was probably like a $50 helicopter. Now, that was a lot of money when I was 8 years old. And we're selling this thing for like $15, and that's like crazy money at a yard sale. Like, you don't sell anything for $15 at a yard sale. And I think when it was all said and done, I sold this stupid thing for like $1.50. I went from $15 to $1.50. And I remember how I felt when that kid walked off of my helicopter, and I walked up to my grandma and was like, here's $1.50, put that in my account. She's like, what'd you sell? I was like, I sold that big helicopter with that kid walking away from it. She's like, you sold the $15 helicopter? And she's like, you're such an idiot. So like I had like this life lesson about how you shouldn't try to compete with your cousin because your cousin was just trying to get you to sell it for $1.50. And it's true. He was so evil. And so that's what he did. And it was awful. And so, but you know what? For that one moment I was in this like elite group of people that make money, only to realize how stupid I was, because that's what we do. Fear of missing out causes us to do things that are stupid. And in the end, I sold out so I could fit in. That's what I did. I sold out. I went way below my value so I could be a part of something that I felt like I needed to be a part of, only in the end to regret doing it. I still regret doing it because, I watched this special on G.I. Joe a couple of weeks ago, and that helicopter was on there, and it was worth like a lot of money. And I wouldn't have kept it this long, but you never know. And I could have made a lot of money. I could have sent my kids to college. They're just not going to go to school. That's what it is. It's my cousin's fault. My kids aren't going to school. So I sold out so I could fit in. And I just wonder today if that might not be a lot of our story in here this morning. I wonder if that's not our story. Because here's the thing. Everybody sells out to something. Everybody. I don't care who you are, who you think you are. I promise you, you sold out. Everybody in this room has sold out to something. Now here's the thing. Not everything we sell out to is bad. There are some good things to sell out to. But regardless, you need to understand, you will sell out to something. And this thing called FOMO in your life most likely will depend what you sell out to and to the extent to which you sell out. Because here's the thing. Anytime we get left out of something, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, even if it's the stuff that we know we don't want to be a part of, but we're left out of it, we get this weird FOMO thing happening. Anytime we get left out of something, we immediately start thinking this: why didn't I get invited? What is wrong with me that I can't be a part of that thing? And here's the crazy part. I just wonder, even the stuff that we don't really want to be a part of, but we don't get invited to, why does it make us feel so bad? Why do we want so bad to be a part of these things? And why do we get so crazy when we're not? And the reason why I bring this up is because this affects everything in our life. You are going to make big decisions that might cost you a lot because you let this thing called FOMO get to you. And you were scared of missing out of what everybody seems to be doing. And you might get to the end of that thing and realize it's not what you wanted. And so the reason why we're bringing this up on floor one today is because I think some of us let this thing called FOMO hurt our relationship with God. And the way we connect to Him and the way we understand Him. And if you don't understand this, maybe you're somebody that when it comes to a relationship with God and you hear the word God, like you've never had any kind of weird vibes about it, chances are you probably got some friends that do. Because I think what happens with a lot of people when you start saying the words like Jesus is that a lot of people feel maybe uninvited or maybe unwanted to the scene that Jesus may be on. And the reason why I think a lot of people never get past the front door, I think the reason why a lot of people feel like they can't have a relationship with God, or they feel like they can't get serious in their faith, or they feel like they can't make better decisions, is because I think a lot of people think that you have to be impressive to be invited. You got to be impressive to be invited. And so here's the thing, and I've been doing this a long time. There's a lot of people, they don't even get close to God to even let God have a chance on getting close to them. And what we do is we make opinions about God and opinions about this thing called church and opinions about this family that we're trying to build because of something weird that happened. And so specifically, here's what I think happens. I think there's three things that people feel when it comes to God that keeps them out. I think people feel like, one, they have to behave to belong. I think people feel like they have to believe to belong. And I think people feel like they have to be good to belong. So, everybody here is here for a different reason today. Like, there's some of you here because you just want to be here. Like, anytime we open the doors, you're going to be here. Because this is family, this is your people, this is what life's about, this is what helps keep you strong. And that's awesome. Like, we want more stories like that. Some of you are here because it's just kind of what you've always done. You grew up in church, and your family just wants to church, and this is just kind of what you do, and you like it. Like, it's okay, but it might not be a part of who you are. And that's okay, too, because we need you here in this room because we want you to get more connected. And then there's some of us here today, like, we don't want to be here. The only reason you're here is because your parents said, it's Sunday, we're going to church. And down here is a little bit more tolerable than up there. But guess what? We actually have students that are hanging out upstairs because upstairs is a little bit more tolerable than down here. And so we got a lot of people today and lots of different reasons. And I think the reason why we're so categorized and the reason why we are in such a broad spectrum is because of this. Some of us, we think, we'll go back to that last slide. Some of us, we think that we got to behave to belong. That there is a certain way you do things to be a part of this thing called church, to be a part of this thing called God. And if you don't do the things that you're supposed to do, God doesn't want you. And so you'll make decisions about God based upon that. And some of us think you got to believe to belong. Like, I got to believe everything. And I got to be really sure about what it is. But let's just be honest. There's a lot of us in this room today who, some doubts. Like, there's some things that you're struggling with and you don't understand what it means. And as you're trying to figure out life, you're also trying to figure out faith. And if you're not careful, you can think, well, because I don't understand everything about God, maybe I shouldn't be pursuing a relationship with God. And some of us think we just got to be good. Like, if we're just really honest with ourselves, a lot of us today will just be real about the fact that we just make some bad decisions. As a matter of fact, we know we make bad decisions, we're not going to deny it. And if you're not careful, you think getting close to God means you got to be this really, really good person. And because you're not, maybe you can't get close to God. And so what happens is this becomes the standard in which we make decisions on whether or not we're going to have a relationship with God. And this is the wrong standard. Because here's what you need to know today, is that Jesus isn't where any of those beliefs come from. That's not the way Jesus operated when he built relationships with people and he started changing people's lives. In fact, Jesus actually made it very clear how he felt about this idea. So we're in the series called Storyteller, and we're telling these stories each week, and these stories reveal who God is and how God feels about you and the way you connect with God. And so Jesus tells the story. And we pick it up in verse 16. We got it on the screen. It says this: Jesus replied with this parable. There was a man who invited many to join him in a great feast. It says, when the day for the feast arrived, the host instructed his servants to notify all the invited guests and tell them, come, for everything is now ready for you. So we got Jesus telling the story about this guy, and he throws this big party, and it's this big deal, and he sends all these invitations out, and like, it's the day of the party. And he's opening up the house, and this is going to be crazy. And so he sends his servant, he's like, go get the people. And it says, in verse 18, it says, but one by one they all made excuses. One said, I can't come, I just bought some property and I'm obligated to go and look over it. Another said, please accept my regrets, for I just purchased 5 teams of oxen and I need to make sure they can pull the plow. Another one said, I can't come because I just got married. And the servant reported back to the host and told him all of their excuses. So the master became angry and said to his servant, then go at once throughout the city, invite anyone you find. So there were some specific people the master wanted at the party. Everybody had an excuse. Nobody really wanted to be at the party, because if they wanted to be at the party, they would have ditched whatever their excuse was to come to the party. And so the master, he's frustrated, he's upset. He's like, all right, then go to the city, invite anyone you find, the poor, the blind, the disabled, the hurting, and the lonely, and invite them to my banquet. Verse 22, he says, when the servant returned to his master, he said, sir, I have done what you asked. We brought a lot of people in, but there's still room for more. So the master told him, all right, go out again, and this time bring them all back with you. Persuade the beggars on the streets, the outcasts, even the homeless. Urgently insist that they come in and enjoy the feast so that my house will be full. And here's what he says in verse 24, and this is probably the most important line in the entire story. He says, I say to you all, the one who receives an invitation to feast with me and makes excuses will never enjoy my banquet. Now, this story is strange, because there's a twist in it. So there's this moment where the master plans this big party and he invites a very special group of people to come and enjoy this party, and nobody can make it. Now, typically what would happen in that moment is the master would reschedule the party. He'd just toss the food, throw it away, and he'd get more food later, and he'd reschedule the party because that's what you did. Or he'd send the servant out and he'd beg for the people to come and say, listen, a lot of money was spent on this thing. This is a really big deal. You should be a part of it. But the master doesn't do any of that stuff. He does the opposite of what the people that are listening to the story, the people in the room when Jesus is telling the story, he does the opposite of what he would say. He says, that's fine. If they don't want to be a part of this thing, then let's go find some people that want to be a part of this thing. And ultimately what we take from this story is this line right here. If they're not interested in coming, he says, I'm not interested in having them. That's what the master says. And this message is going to go two different ways as we start to land this thing in the next 10 minutes. It's going to talk to specifically two different kind of people in the room. And here's something you need to understand just straight up about God. God is crazy about you. He loves you. He would do absolutely anything to change your life. As a matter of fact, he did absolutely anything to change your life by sending Jesus to give his life for you. God wants you to have a relationship with him. But here's something you need to understand about God. God will not play games with you. Your heart and your soul are too important to God for God to play games with you, and God won't let you play games with him. So what happens is, depending on how you got to church and what you've heard about church, there's this sense that we think that God's some lonely person looking at his phone, waiting for someone to respond to the 20 text messages he sent out to all his friends saying, hey, because he knows once one of them says, hey, that shows that someone cares, right? Because I know no one in this room does that. But there's people that do that. They're just so needy for attention that you'll send out 30 text messages and you'll just hope for one hit to come back. And then that's the thing. We think that's what God is. God's just waiting by the phone and he's just looking at those bubbles on his screen because you've not responded back to him, just waiting for you to respond. God doesn't play like that. God is not going to be some side thing in your life. Because that's not good for anybody. God wants to have a relationship with you, but it's never going to work if you don't want a relationship with him. And so God's got this thing, this party set out, this feast. He's got this life. He's got these experiences. He's got all these things set aside. But here's the thing. If you don't want it, he's saying, I'm just going to go find somebody that does. Because this isn't some game, your heart and your soul. And at some point, your faith has got to stop being little kid faith. And it's got to start becoming real faith. I don't know how you got to the room today. And it doesn't really matter to me. I honestly don't really care how you got to the room. But what I do care about is at some point you get to the place to realize that the God of the universe wants to do some things in your life. But it's not going to happen until you want him to do some things in your life. And you got to own it. You got to take control of that. And so, not only is this story telling us that if people aren't interested in coming, he's not interested in having them, but then it goes on to say, he will go out, he will find the people who wants to be here. I don't know what your viewpoint is of people around you. I don't know where you fall on the scale. So when you see people who are the outcast, the broken, you see people that don't really fit in with anybody else. I don't know where you are with that. I don't know the way you see things, but I think we got to be real careful. I think there are some of us in this room that absolutely think we are way more spiritual than what we really are. And there are people that we're looking at thinking, they are nowhere near as good enough as me. And you got to be careful, because the people that you look down on, the people that you think are just a mess and a joke, one day, chances are, they're going to be running this thing called faith way stronger than you. That's a weird feeling. Like, you don't get that so much now because social media, you get to follow people around a lot. But when I was living this thing out, like, it was a really crazy thing when there was somebody I saw in high school that looked like just a complete idiot, like most likely to be dead in 5 years kind of idiot, only to meet him a couple years later and find out that no, they've given their life to Jesus, but man, they're just crushing it in their faith. Because it's not what you always think. That's why FOMO is such a joke. We get so caught up in this thing called FOMO because we think what everybody else wants is what we need. And God's like, hey, listen, I don't play like that. I don't play like everybody else. And so as we start to wrap this thing up and we start to think about this story, here's my question for you. What have you sold out to? What have you sold out to? Everybody in this room sells out to something. And you know the thing that's crazy about selling out? Do you know the same three things that keep us from following in a relationship with God, thinking, well, I got to behave a certain way, I got to believe a certain way, I got to be good for a certain way? Do you know those same crazy three things are the three things that get you to sell out to other stuff? Chances are, whatever you're sold out to right now, whether it's good or bad, there's a way that you have to behave to sell out to that. There's things you have to believe to sell out to that. There's a certain way you have to act to sell out to that, good or bad. This is how we sell out. We find something worth behaving for, believing for, and being good enough for to be a part of what that is. And so Jesus is trying to get us to understand that there are these things that we think about when we think about him that stops us from having a relationship with him. And we got to at some point get rid of that. Because this relationship with Jesus is the most important relationship you are ever going to have in your life. And if you're not buying into what I'm saying, man, find somebody that's been changed by God. Find somebody that was this way before, and there is a very different after. And the only thing that could ever change somebody like that is somebody like God. So I don't know where you feel like you are today. I really don't. I don't know if there are some things you've sold out to that you're not proud of, you're not happy with, and you wish could change. I don't know if you've sold out to God, but you don't feel like you're in with God. And I don't know if I say the word God and I say the word Jesus, you just feel really confused about how that looks and what happens. That's what we're hoping to try to do here. Every Sunday, we're just trying to clear that up a little bit. We're trying to get you plugged in with other students and other leaders who are trying to figure those things out. And we're hoping that through it all, you start to make these relationships with God. But if anything today, let me encourage you with this. The only requirement for getting in with Jesus is showing up. It gets not complicated to have a relationship with God. It's not complicated to know God at a deep level. All you have to do is show up. And when it comes to Jesus, there's always room for more. Your story does not scare him. Your past and the things that you've been through, it doesn't scare him. The way you're behaving right now and the way you're acting, it doesn't bother him or scare him away from you. Maybe you're here today and there's some things you're just not sure of when it comes to the way you believe. And there's some issues in faith that you don't know where you line up. Listen, your belief doesn't scare Jesus. There is always room for more, which means you do not have to behave to belong. You do not have to believe to belong. You do not have to be good to belong. You just got to be willing to show up. And you got to be willing to give God a chance. And you're going to have to want it. I can't want it for you. Your small group leaders can't want it for you. Your parents can't want it for you. Even the people that brought you here that are really chasing after Jesus, they can't want it for you. Listen, this is never ever going to work until you want it to work. You got to be all in on this thing. So I just wonder, where are you at today? Because everybody in this room is either at the table or out the door. You're either at the table or you are out the door. And here's what I wonder this. Let me just take a second and talk to you people who are at the table. Those of you that said, I'm in 100%. Everything I've got is God's, and I want to be the best that I can. What's it going to take to get more people to the table? Like, if God has really changed your life, and you are better because of a relationship with Jesus, and you're better because you're a part of Floor One, then what's it going to take to get more people into this room? What's it going to take? Because listen, God says, I'm not picky. I'll take anybody that wants to be here. So what's it going to take for us to get more people in these seats? So they can find community. They can find family. They can be a part of these things. Like, we got to carry the conviction of that. We got to carry the weight of that. But then I think here's the tougher question. I told you that verse 24 was the most important verse. Here's my last question for us to think about. What happens if you don't get past your excuses? I just wonder, for some of us today, man, what is your excuse? What is keeping you from going all in on this thing? What is it? Because let me tell you what I don't want to do. I don't want to try to get it out of you. I don't want to sit down for an hour and ask all these tricky questions to get you to tell me what's going on. I don't want to do that. Because it's just going to be a waste of our time. It's got to be something you want. And if there are excuses right now that are holding you back from being everything you need to be in your relationship with Jesus, if there are excuses holding you back from bringing other people in, what are they? And what happens if you don't own them? Verse 24, he says, I say to you all, the ones who received an invitation to feast with me and make excuses, they'll never get to be a part of my banquet. You know the thing that hurts me the most in ministry, and I've been doing this a long time, and what hurts me the most is that there are people in this room today that are never, ever going to get to experience what it feels like to eat with Jesus and to share life with Jesus, because your excuses are more important than Jesus. But that's heartbreaking. Because it can be better. And you don't have to be the most behaved person in the room, and you don't have to have a strong belief system, and you don't have to be good and be better than everybody else. You just got to show up. You got to be real. You got to be willing to let some people in. And you got to be willing to own some things. If you do that, I promise you, God's going to do some crazy things in your life. Really crazy things. And that FOMO is going to leave. And you're going to get to do the one thing that not a lot of people do. And that's just to live. Just live. Not because you're scared of missing out. Because you're confident in the person that God's told you that you are.
Whether you're a student, parent, or youth motivator, our hope is to reach students where they are, to give families an inside look into the series, and to help open dialogue with their students. Now, my name is Alex Perez, and I also have Adam Myers, youth pastor, father, student motivator, and a special guest with us. We have Cohen Brammer, the college director of the Ages. He's a college guy. He's a college guy. Look at him. He's got the glasses and everything.
Very official title.
Yes.
Looks like he's a college guy.
So what we're going to be talking about today, we're actually in the second week of our series of Jesus' parable called The Storyteller. This week, we're diving into the story that teaches us the way Jesus invites and accepts us, because at Jesus' party, there's always room for more.
Always room for more.
It's true. Yeah. Now, what about this week? Are you guys excited about anything coming up? Something that happened that you're excited about, or maybe not excited about? But I like positivity.
It is Valentine's Day week.
That's right.
That's right. So
Which means
I have nothing. I'm a single man. It's that one time of the year that, Hallmark gets to make a lot of money off of sad people.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So we played a game today, which was really, really great. And there was a second question that asked, what is her most irritating habits? So would you care to share? So what would she say, and then what do you think you would say?
Oh, man, what would she say? I've got a lot of irritating habits, so it would be hard to figure out what she would pick from me. She doesn't have a lot, but she makes this face when she gets mad, and I can't stand it.
Is it like a scrunch face?
No,
or like a side face?
I can't even, it's like a serious face. She just looks at me like, and it's just, of a million faces she makes, that's the one I can't stand.
Oh, man.
So I've actually said to her, listen, I'm going to leave because I can't look at that face right now. I got to go. which just makes the face
What a
even more.
thing
But
to
that's
say.
it. That's the only thing. Everything else my wife
But you
does is
can't.
perfect.
But you can't go very far because you're married.
You can't go very far. Yeah, I'm in the house, so I can't leave. So
Cohen can go very far because he's not married.
Wait, what?
it's true.
Yeah, you can go further away
Oh,
because you're not married.
Yeah.
yes, I can.
Not only is they not married, but it's also currently single.
Yes.
Damn.
So if there's any ladies out there, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes.
That sounds like you're going to enter a raffle.
Yes.
Wow.
This is Christian Tinder.
Oh,
Who tricked you? It's not a podcast at
Wait,
all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Wait, is there a Christian dating app?
There is.
Christian Mingles?
Christian Mingle?
There is. I don't think you can say Christian and Tinder in the same statement.
I don't think
Okay.
you
It
can.
feels dirty.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. That's true.
Isn't
Yeah,
right.
that's true. Forget everything I just said previous to this. All right. Well, let's jump into it. I mean, we're in the storytelling of what Jesus is doing, where Jesus is at, and I guess the main thing is where we're talking about is where the party. There's always room for more.
Mhm.
So if you're single, there's always room for more.
Always room.
But let me jump into the first question, which talks about this. What are some places or events you would invite a friend, and why?
Can it be like any place?
Any place, any event. What do you have?
Well, I feel like I have plenty of places, right? I mean, travel, concert.
If you had a friend that showed up and you're like, I got to take you somewhere, where would you take them?
Oh, wow. Just take them.
Yeah.
Right then, right
To
there.
experience
Yeah.
something that you've experienced. Yeah.
I'd probably take them to like a summer camp or a snow camp that we do.
Oh, nice.
Honestly,
That's good. We didn't pay him to say that. That was really interesting.
I would take them to that.
Link in the description below.
Because usually, I mean, out of all the people that I've met in the past, I try to connect them here
Mm-hmm.
because then they don't leave. They're just like, oh, well, this is great. I was like, I know, I told you so.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
But I don't have like an answer like Rome or Greece or, I mean, I'm sure those places are great, but I haven't been to them yet.
Well, I mean, logistically, that I don't even say that word right.
Logistically,
We'll just roll right over it. Pretend I said it right. But I feel like that is probably one of the best ways to bring someone, invite someone, and still get to know them, and then have a good time, and then have a time for rest, and then continue. Because if, let's say, you bring them to a concert. How are you? Are you okay? What? Are you having a good time? What? I don't like. Are you? Is it? Do you want something to drink, like water? No. What? It feels like you bring them, and then it's exciting, but you can't really get to know them.
Yeah.
But if you bring them to, I don't know, summer camp, you come and then you play the game, which is really exciting. Then you go and you have breakfast, lunch, or dinner, which you get to sit down calmly and have a cool conversation with no music blaring in the background. And then next up, you get to hear someone talk, and then you're like, oh, what did you think about the message? That's really good. Or you don't have to talk about the message. You can talk about things that you read or are thinking about or are feeling. And I think that's really great.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you mean by friend then? I think I'm confused by the question.
So, well, it's really just general. Like, if you could, so what are some places or events you would invite a friend?
Mm-hmm.
We're just talking about anywhere or any place that you would pick for that friend or any friend that you.
Because you want them to experience something. Like, I think
Right.
for me, what I would do is I would take them to some kind of dining experience. If there was some food I tasted that was really good and really meant something to me, if I could take them there and experience that with them. Because that's really why you're doing this. You want them to feel what you felt in that moment.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty cool thing to share with
The
somebody.
common meal is the place to be. Like, I know we use that for a certain thing on Wednesdays, but just having a meal with someone is always good. Even when, especially like when you're trying to date, like they say, a way to a man's heart is to his stomach.
Mm.
So if you can bring food into it, it's not like you have to date them, but you are inviting a friend to be able to have, a common meal, and that's the only commonality between you two, and then you get to know them.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Yeah, there's just something special about sharing a meal and what it means culturally across the board, which, like you had mentioned already, I think it's one of the reasons why Jesus brings up the story about a banquet.
Yeah.
People can understand that. They can wrap their mind around how important it is to have dinner at the table and what it means. You know, it was a much more significant thing than it is today. You know, you invite someone to have dinner at your house. In his culture, that was a really big deal. It meant a lot.
Yeah. So now jumping to the opposite side of that.
Mm-hmm.
So has there ever been a time where you felt like you were excluded for something?
Mm-hmm.
So like me and you invited me out to go dinner in front of Cohen.
Yeah.
How would you feel?
I'd be like, ouch, Adam didn't invite me to dinner. And then I'd do something just that I would regret.
Like a prank? Like
A
a
prank?
Like a key his car or
No, that's not a prank. You think that's a prank?
Steal my car.
That's a crime.
steal his car? You would steal his
These
car?
are all crimes, you guys.
He didn't invite
What
me
kind
to
of pranks?
He didn't invite me to dinner. I'm gonna steal his car.
I've got a good one. A good being excluded.
Okay.
6th grade year,
Mm.
every guy in my class made the basketball team except for me.
Oh, wow.
Do you know how painful it was in the morning when they're reading over the PA, everybody that made the team, and I'm watching
yeah,
one by
perfect,
one,
yeah.
all the guys go, yes, 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 and then they're done, and I was the only one that didn't make the team.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awful. I still remember that coach's name, too. It's written in my book.
If you're out there,
You're
I
out
hope
there.
hope you're alone. Hope you didn't find anybody. Just kidding. No, that's not. Yeah. If you didn't know, that was a reference to episode 2. So if you don't mind, go scroll back to episode 2, and you would hear that same thing in there. So what are some ways to make people feel like they belong? So like you felt like you were excluded, but now what do we do with people that don't feel like or feel like they are excluded? How do we make them feel like they belong?
I feel like you gotta go out of your way, honestly. You gotta go out of your way to kind of bring people in sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just like oh, hey. Like, sometimes it can be just saying hi to somebody in the hallway or at work or whatever. But I think it really works when you go out of your way to, like, see how that person's day is or invite them to an event. I know that's how it was for me, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's used to, like, I call it elevator talk. It's just that talk that you say when you don't know what to say, right?
Mhm.
And we do that all the time with people. I can't stand it. So, because you know what people are doing, they just don't know what to say. So, but when you dig deeper, you're showing someone value. You're saying, hey, I really care about who you are as a person.
Yeah.
I'm not just trying to have a conversation. I'm not trying to get to know you. It's a big deal.
Yeah. I guess the moment you find that commonality between something, because I've had that conversation before where you are, in school, back in high school, you would walk past someone and say, hey, I think it was a girl or a lady that I talked to, and we just had lockers in the same area, but we saw each other for the next 3 years, and then all of a sudden, I don't know if I was wearing a shirt or my backpack had something cool on it, and she mentioned that, and all of a sudden we started talking about it, and then talking about different things, and then find out the whole time that we were into the same music, into the same, things at home, video games, all of that, and I was like, whoa, where have this been this whole time? But we never made that step. We never went out of our way to find that out. We just stayed right on the surface level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think just when you get people in, get them connected to your culture quick, because everybody has culture, and there's like insider language that everybody uses, and that's why camps are such a great thing, because then people get ingrained pretty quick. Yeah. But camp or an experience like that may be a while away, so anything you can do to get somebody in quick is going to be way better.
Yeah.
Because we need those connections, and we need those bonds, we need those memories, so that we can feel like, oh, I'm a part of this thing. I'm not just showing up. That's a big deal.
Exactly. Well, you know what? I actually have a challenge for you guys. Just real quick. What are some ways that we can invite others, and what would that look like from start to finish? What would it look like from the moment they get out of the car to the moment they finish at small groups? And for you guys, just let us know in the description below, and also add us at our social medias. And while you're there, consider subscribing. Like, comment, subscribe. But let us know what you
Everybody that
think.
subscribes gets a free date with Cohen.
It's not.
Yeah.
That is not true.
He's paying.
We'll make it true.
He's paying. He's
Yeah,
paying.
we'll make it true. Or we'll key his car or something like that.
Oh my
Anyway,
gosh.
I'm not going to jail. Let's move on. So a couple more questions, and we'll head out and we'll finish up. But what can make inviting or including others difficult, awkward, intimidating? So what are some things that are like difficult about that, awkward about that?
I mean, keying people's cars kind of makes it a little awkward.
That is 100%
Just a little bit.
false.
Oh.
No, yeah, that'd be a great way to meet somebody. And
Okay, go ahead.
I mean, okay, so let's say you see a car, and you wait until they walk up to it, and you start keying it, and they're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And you're like, "Oh, I thought this was somebody else's car." I'm like, "No, you're not Mr. Smith." And they're like, "No, I'm Bradley." And you're like, "Oh, okay, cool. Sorry about that. I will pay for that." And they're like, "Okay, cool. So you mind if I buy you dinner?" And then you can take them out to dinner, invite them to a concert because they're upset. But then when you pay for their stuff,
In the scenario, both these people are sociopaths.
I don't know Bradley is. I mean,
Come on, Bradley's a good guy.
Bradley's a good guy.
Which one's Bradley?
Bradley's got
His car just got keyed, and then he got it fixed and dinner.
Yes, but the person who is going out of their way to key someone's car, like that mentality, he just said yes to dinner with that person.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good guy. I still think he's a good
They
guy.
just met. I mean, this is a
Well, and in some weird, twisted way, this is a good answer to the question. Not the key in the car part, but just how do you take the awkwardness of that first step, right? I think that's the hard part, is that we really live in this society now where people are so bottled up that everybody's living off their cell phones, they keep it to themselves. And so for you to get off the screen and to be face-to-face with somebody, you got to put yourself out there. Let alone them putting themselves out there. So I think that's the first part, taking a risk and saying, you know what, I'm going to be awkward. It's okay. It's going to be weird. Why don't you come to church with me? Or why don't you come to small group? Why don't you come to this thing? But I'm just going to own it. And I think that's the first step, owning the awkward.
Yeah. I've had a lot of awkward conversations trying to get people to come Thursday night. Oh, man. Just a lot of awkward stuff. I remember I have a friend who like is regularly coming now, started dating somebody from the group. And it was just because like I saw them, I recognized them, and I just sat down at the table. And I was like, "Hey, where have you been?" And they were like, and they talked for like a long time. You know, but at first it was like you have to, you have to really invest in people at first, you know, so that you can so that investment is long term, right? But it doesn't take that long at first, I don't feel like, at least in that scenario. It just feels like it does because there's so much tension.
Yeah.
That's a really good answer. I like that. You know, it's there's that awkwardness that we run into all the time, and the awkwardness it lies in there because we stay at the surface and then we don't know how to get deeper.
Yeah.
So what is the next thing you say? What do I have something to say? I don't have anything planned next. Now, I always rely on the Ford method. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this. Now, if you use this in the wrong hands, it can be used for evil. But if you are going to use this for good, please. So the Ford method is very, very simple. And I come in a little bit clean here. I taught it to my son, and that's how he got his girlfriend. So that's why I don't want you to use it for evil. But but I've taught it to other students here. I've taught it to, and I'm afraid that they may use it for evil. But here's the thing: the Ford method is very simple, and it follows up any awkwardness. So when you say, "Hey, how are you doing?" or you come here often, or whatever it is, and then you normally give one answer and stop. There's more to that. So the Ford method, FORD, you talk about family. You insert it in a way that is less intimidating. So are you here? Just like me as an only child. It's like, no, I have brothers and sisters. Oh, cool. Tell me about them. You just went into the next step. FORD. So occupation. If you're a student, obviously you can find out what school they go to. If you're an adult, you can find out what do you do. What do you do? Oh, okay, that's great. Tell me more about that. R, recreation. What do you do for fun? Normally you get that question all the time. What do you do for fun? People don't know. That's fine. But if they do know, like, oh, paragliding. Oh, great. I would love to do that. Tell me where you would go paragliding. You've just entered into further of knowing them. And the last one, which is very, very important, and they start to connect with you with, is D, FORD, dream. So tell me your dreams. Well, I'm going to college right now. Well, if you don't have to pay for college right now, what would be the thing that you would be doing right now if you didn't have to go to college? See, you just fell in love with me right now.
I did.
So if you use this method, please don't use it for evil. Please use it for good.
It's family, occupation,
Recreation,
recreation.
and dreams.
I thought, for some reason, I thought you were talking about Henry Ford, and he has a saying where it's like, don't tell me what you know, show me what you can do. And I was
Ooh,
like, where's...
That's really good too.
Well, yeah, but not for this scenario. Trying to learn new people and be like, don't talk to me, just show me what you can do.
Just show me what you can do.
Henry Ford did not use the Ford method.
No,
He did not.
He did not.
Not a man of the Ford method.
Yes. Ford method is very, very good, and if even someone who is shy can talk about these things, and the thing is it's not two-way. You can actually lay the question down, and the other person, the more you let them talk, the more they feel like they belong, the more they feel like, obviously you're not doing it just for show, but you're doing it to actually get to know them. And now you get to know them. So the next time you see them, you have something to continually talk about. Mm-hmm. Hey, did you go paragliding this weekend? Oh, no, we're thinking about doing that next month. So in a month, you can bring it back up and say, hey, how did that go? And I'm pretty sure they're going to give you an hour-long talk about how they went paragliding, how fun it was, how scary it was, all of this stuff, because you got to know them.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And that puts you create friends pretty quickly from those encounters. You do.
Yeah.
The other day, I was at work. We had a new coworker come in, and where I work, there's they take clients to a meeting at one point, so I have to man the building alone. Mm-hmm. But they left the new guy with me, and we talked for 2 hours. I just met him that day, and I must have told him all my deepest, darkest secrets, everything that we had encountered throughout our lives. We talked about our family, all that stuff, and there's a pretty big age gap in between us. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you what, I like that guy. Yeah. I really do. Just from that one encounter.
Now, if you can remember that encounter, it seems like you did a lot of the talking. So he was just laying down questions for you to answer.
No, it was both ways.
It was back and forth.
It was. I learned a lot about him too.
That's the best kind of conversation because it now becomes a two-way street.
Yeah.
And when you have that awkwardness, sometimes it's just one way and you can let them talk. But the moment you have that connection, it goes both ways. That's even better. That's a whole nother level.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was crazy just to get to know that much about somebody and just share that with somebody.
Yeah.
And it would be easier to invite him to things now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're actually getting close to time here, but I do want to end on a good question here. So who is someone, no, not who, if you were to invite someone, what would you want their experience to be like?
I think I want people to feel like they were cared for.
Yeah.
I want people to walk in and walk out and say, you know what? I've never met any of those people, but I think they actually care about me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to come back to see what this looks like. So I'd like them to feel like they were cared for, and I'd like it to kind of pique that curiosity a little bit to say, I'd like a little bit more of that. Yeah. That's what I want.
I think about, if you guys remember what Luke said at Snow Camp, when he was like, I don't know what you guys got, but I want it. I was just for everybody there, it was because you always talk about trying to make the place feel that way for people, but for when somebody said it, we're like, oh man. Yeah. I think that's what I would like, Yeah. I want people to feel like they see something and they want to be a part of it, and I want them to leave feeling like they could be a part of it.
Right. I would love, we can't cookie cutter this setup and experience. So everybody that comes in here is coming in at a different level in life. Mm-hmm. So maybe they don't know anything about God or Jesus, and they are curious. We want their experience to come in and not be turned away by, hey, you have to do this and here's all the rules and follow them. We don't want that, or I don't want that. I want them to come in wherever they're at, whether they're reading the Bible, they're all the way in, they're a minister somewhere else, or they're just someone who's just curious and want to know more. I want each one of those to have the same experience where they can come in, understand who we are, what we're about, and they're cared for, and they get to go home and come back and grow again from where they're at, from the spot that they're at.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what it's about.
Yeah. Oh.
Anything more to add or detract?
Just take a chance.
Don't key a car.
Yeah, don't key a
Don't
car.
key a car.
Don't key a car. Don't do that.
If you're new and you see me keying a car, just know that I care about
He didn't
you.
take his medicine that day.
He's trying to build a relationship. You're gonna get dinner out of it.
You're gonna get a lot more than
Even
dinner
a
out of it.
concert. Even a concert. I don't know.
All right, and that's it for our time. And for those of you in YouTube land, thanks for watching. And those of you in podcast land,
Hey.
Ooh, a little ASMR in
yeah,
there.
a little bit of that. We try a little bit of everything. So if you would, make sure to save us in your video playlist or in your audio playlist. And also, if you could, hit that subscribe button, click the bell for notifications, and don't forget about our socials. Swing by, say hello.
Yep.
That's where you guys say hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey.
There you go.
Hi.
So whether you're a student, parent, or youth motivator, our hope is to reach students where they are, to give families an inside look where the series are, and to help open dialogue with their students. This is North Youth Media. We'll see you next time.
Have a great week.
We should do something like where only the visual people can see it, but like everyone that's just listening has no idea what's going on. You know? Like I don't know.
Okay. This is... Ouch. And cut.